Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud, never running out, never heading south. I'll be spreading out, call it word of mouth, can't put me down, I'll be getting loud. You can have your doubts, not what I'm about, have your cloud, it be raining now. I keep making sound, go another round, I'm legend bound, can't stop me now. You don't wanna fuck with me, a slow burn like a disease. Just tell me that I can and I'll show you things that you couldn't believe. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can.
What's going on, everybody out there in YouTube and Rumble and Spotify land? It's me, Jim or Fisher, whatever you want to call me. I don't care. Either way, I'm excited to see everybody. But technically, I'm not really even seeing you because this is a pre-record. So, that being said, there's a chance that I'm out of town. I'm not sure. Things with that are kind of screwy right now. So either way, I love you guys and want to be able to, give y'all a little something. Because I hope that you miss me as much as I miss you. Or something. But either way, I've got an excellent guest tonight. Somebody that I've been following for quite a while. And I think he's awesome. And I know that you guys will think he's awesome too. So, without further ado, let's get this guy on.
What's up, everybody?
Yeah. What's up, man? How are you?
Doing great, man. How you doing?
Yeah. Oh, doing pretty decent. I can't complain too hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for those of you all who don't know me, my name is Brian, and I run the YouTube channel, Black Mass Paranormal. Mainly, I've got other platforms, TikTok and Instagram and all those. You can follow. You can find me there too. But I'm an East Tennessee boy raised in Appalachia. I now have a very big interest in researching the things that happen in the Appalachian Mountains, such as feral people, Bigfoot, Dogman, anything weird. I go out, I go look for it. So,
yes, most definitely. And man, I'll tell you what, brother, your content is just amazing. So, I mean,
thank you.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, my gosh, I can watch you for hours, man. You get into like some of the most interesting places, and if nothing else, the scenery is just gorgeous. So
yeah, scenery is always awesome.
Yeah, always. Yeah. And then like you said, there's so much here in Appalachia. I mean, I'm not in Tennessee, I'm in Alabama, and Lord, I know we're full of stuff. And that being said, Tennessee has got even more going on. Like, you guys get all the glory up there in Tennessee.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because especially in East Tennessee, because we're right there on the North Carolina border. So we have, North Carolina stuff too, which is really cool. So
right. So yeah. So I've noticed that, well, for one, I find a lot of the equipment that you use to be very interesting and inspiring. And I want to actually hone in on something first.
All right.
So you've inspired me to get a lightning strike detector.
Yes.
Now, I know my reasoning and the theory behind it, but what made you come up with that?
So it actually started from an experience that happened, and in my last video, I didn't show this side of it. But on the other side of Black Mountain, one day I was out there, just kind of looking around. They have in Black Mountain,
Mhm.
some people debate what these trees actually are. I personally, from my experience of going into Black Mountain, feel like they are navigation trees. So the Native Americans used to bend trees to
Mhm.
help with them to navigate toward either like resources or sacred spots.
Right.
One day I was up there and I was kind of following the path of these navigation trees, and I was coming across this like one rock face. It was really kind of out of place, but it was this massive like boulder. It was
Mhm.
probably 25, 30 feet tall. Like
Right.
it was bigger in diameter. And as I was walking past it, I had this feeling like my ears, it was kind of like being in an airplane. Like your ears popped. It felt like there was a massive change in pressure.
Right.
And I felt like I was being pulled to my left side towards this boulder.
Mm.
It totally freaked me out because I kind of feel like I was almost one of those missing in Appalachia uh, statistics.
Right.
Um, to this day, I still think it was a portal. What
Mm.
happened? It was so scary that like I have a hard time going back near this boulder.
Mhm.
And from that point on, my thinking was that during that time there was like some sort of massive release of electricity.
Mhm.
So with the lightning detector, it obviously detects lightning. So if
Right.
you are in a situation where there's no lightning, but you're getting hits on the lightning detector, it could potentially save your life because you might be getting pulled, somewhere that we don't understand quite yet.
Right.
So that was my main reason why I start, because you can also get them. They're small. You can just put them on there,
Right. Right.
and for nothing else, it's good to have a lightning detector if you're in the mountains and a storm's coming.
Exactly.
So
Especially if you're out by yourself, right?
absolutely, yeah,
Right.
absolutely, yeah.
So
So
yeah,
yeah,
I think that's super interesting. And when I first saw you do that and implementing that, I was like, huh, okay, interesting. Let's work this out. And then all of a sudden, like all the stories that I've heard, and then all of my own experiences as well with the paranormal came back to me. And it's like, the common through line with almost all of it is some kind of electromagnetic radiation that everybody reports. It
right,
doesn't matter if it's Bigfoot, aliens, ghosts, it doesn't matter. Like, this is always something that comes up,
yep,
right? I mean,
yep,
people are being reported feeling the tinglies
yep,
or, something along those lines.
yep,
Also, electromagnetic radiation can make pictures go blurry.
yep,
Yep, and
yep,
everybody's like, "Oh, it's a blob squatch." Well, there's kind of a reason, right?
yep, absolutely,
And then,
absolutely,
also, with the field work that I do with relic films, I coming into it, we'd be talking about the batteries draining and stuff like that.
yeah,
No, and you're not out there looking for ghosts. You look out there looking for Bigfoot or something. And then, why would Bigfoot do such a thing? Like, how,
right,
if it's not connected, how could it have these same abilities?
right,
So that got me to thinking, and on top of having that in my back and like in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, so definitely lightning strike. Need to do that. Thank you, Brian. But the other thing that actually I thought about, I was like, okay, let's get a little bit more basic with this. Okay, so if this is going to be a problem, how can we solve this problem? And I haven't tested this yet, but plan to. Is I think the way to prevent, battery drains and things like that, like files being corrupted when you're filming,
Mhm.
Buy some of those Faraday cage bags,
Yep.
like off of Amazon, and just put it in that. I
Yep.
bet you have
I,
a
I
lot less
I
problems.
actually have those in my bag. I thought I had some behind me, but
Oh,
yeah, yeah, I absolutely 100% use Faraday
yes.
bags
I
for
guessed
sure.
correctly. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. The only problem with the Faraday bag is you can't use the equipment while it's in the bag.
Correct. Yeah.
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 So it'll help with. I'm sorry, my fire alarm battery is apparently going dead. But yeah, the Faraday bag, it does actually seem to help with
Yeah.
a lot of the external battery pack drainage
Yeah.
problems that happen in this type of research and work. So because it is a common theme that
Hmm.
happens a lot in the paranormal. I think a lot of the ghost hunter side really really kind of pointed it out initially,
Hmm.
and then a lot of the Bigfoot guys were like, wait a minute, I'm having that kind of same experience here too,
Yeah.
and it's one of those things that's pretty interesting that happens, that no matter how prepared you are to go out in the field, it just all of a sudden your equipment just stops working for no reason, you know.
Right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I've had it happen to me at another location, which was it was a more intense situation,
Hmm.
because at the time I was actually on my e-bike, and I was in the um, Happy Valley area of the Smoky Mountains, and
Hmm.
that is where a man named Ed Heron like totally vanished. Like he vanished. Like the only thing that they found of him was the four-wheeler that he had taken out. There was
Mm.
no sign of struggle, no sign of anything.
Hmm.
It was like he was going on this four-wheeler, and then all of a sudden, just the earth swallowed him up. Um,
Mm.
but I was in that area doing some research, and as I was going down the trail, I thought I'd heard something moving around in the woods. I also think there's a clan of feral people out there.
Hmm.
But um, at the time, while I was recording, all of my equipment shut off. Everything
Mm.
electrical that I had going down to my Montana 750 GPS shut off completely and would not turn back on. My e-bike shut off. Everything shut off
Right.
all at
Right.
once. And I have pretty good experience in the mountains, and I was able to get myself out of the situation. And
Hmm.
what's even stranger is as I got further away from the location of where it happened, my equipment started working and
Right.
started to come back online.
Hmm.
So it can be a very scary situation uh, for that happening to you when you're alone in the
Yeah, I
mountains.
can imagine.
But, yeah.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, was that a live stream?
No, that was not
No.
that.
Okay.
I have live streamed in the area, um,
Yeah.
and I may have live streamed afterwards, but
Yeah. I
it was
remember that happening to you on a live stream and then having to come back on.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I
That
think.
that definitely does happen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I tend to have to end live streams sometimes. Another time that I had to end the live stream was I was in the I don't really want to put the location out because um I don't know. I guess I need to talk to his family about it first.
Yeah. No
But something
worries.
really interesting is that Scott Carpenter,
Hmm.
where he did a lot of his research and where he found Sasquatch DNA, like where he
Mm.
got a lot of really just amazing evidence of Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Me and him ended up working in the same area, getting similar evidence and
Mhm.
neither one of us knew the other one was in the area. We didn't even know each other. Like I never knew Scott Carpenter personally.
Right.
It's just we just happened to be in the same area and we were getting similar stuff. It's
Mhm.
actually where this stone came from, which is pretty interesting. It's that quartz crystal.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
that I had found one of Scott's old gifting stone spots,
Mhm.
and this was after he passed, and
Mhm.
so I tried to kind of continue the tradition, and I put down mine, and when I came back, there was this stone, and it was broken into thirds, and um, replaced on that stump. I'd given one friend to a I given one part of it to another friend, but
Mhm.
it was pretty unique situation, and especially coming in with the courts, um,
Mhm.
it's pretty wild because of a lot of the stuff that people claim happened in North Carolina. You know, the floods that they say it's a result of the courts, which kind of makes sense. So
I mean, as
yeah,
far as, us talking earlier about electronics go, I don't know of anything else naturally that you can have make electricity, quartz, put
no,
pressure on it, piezoelectricity, boom,
right,
static
yeah,
discharge, right? So,
yeah.
yeah, who knows?
And with
It's
the
certainly
recent
possible.
and another theory that I've recently developed after watching the House oversight hearing on UAPs.
Mm,
We got some information that they were in our oceans. They were coming out of our oceans, which to me, um, if you do any like research on like what the deepest parts of our ocean, like the structure of the sand, a lot of it is the quartz crystal. And
hmm.
obviously, water weighs a lot. What do you get when you put a lot of pressure and you know on that and move it back and forth? You get electricity. In my opinion, it could be where these aliens are coming from. So
Yeah, sure. I
you
mean,
know,
shoot, that's as good a theory as anything else out there, right?
yeah, I think so. I mean,
Yeah. No, I'm
because
digging it, man.
I'm seeing this like because a lot of I see a very common theme in
Mhm.
locations where there is a lot of paranormal activity. There
Mhm.
tends to be concentrations of quartz. Um, like
Right.
if you go in that Happy Valley area where Ed Heron disappeared, you see just these massive quartz stones. Now,
Mhm.
I know a lot of them aren't necessarily the ones that they use directly in making our electronics, but because they have to meet certain requirements. But there's massive deposits of these things,
Right.
of this quartz crystal in these locations. So,
Mhm.
and it's everywhere I go, I see massive deposits of quartz crystal. So,
Right. And to be fair, that's not even counting the how many hundreds, probably even thousands of years that we have of just, occult literature that talks about
yeah,
using quartz
yeah,
for all
and
kind of stuff.
that's what's kind of funny to me is that like I've always been into the paranormal.
Mhm.
And I've had some family members that were into like the stone healing type of thing. And, they talked about quartz. And I have to say, I was very dismissive of it for a long time. And then
Yeah.
I get into actually going out and doing this paranormal research. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like these people have been telling us this for years and we're just like dismissing them. So it
Yeah.
gave them a lot of credibility, and I gained a lot of respect for those individuals that are interested in that stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, man. It's one of those things. It's like, if you follow the breadcrumbs that are already out there, you're gonna
yeah,
find some stuff, and that's
yeah,
just the thing, like people want to poo-poo things. It's like, man, just go out there, do a little bit of research.
a
I mean,
little bit of research. Yeah,
granted,
it's hard to
it's
get people out there though.
Yeah, there's that. And granted, like I'm not one who thinks of, like, say, Sasquatch as a charismatic megafauna
Right,
protector of the woods. Like I'm not in that camp, you know.
right.
But at the very least, if you like want to go down that path, I see it as hopeful to the point where you can like get your toe wet to the point where you can see that, oh, wait a second, there's actually a little bit more going on than just,
Yeah,
oh, monkey man, right? and
yeah,
and once you start stumbling on that, all of a sudden the scope starts widening and things start falling into place, and it's like,
yeah. And that's one
oh.
thing that I always struggle with people. They want to ask me, they want to, point out these theories about, because when it comes to Sasquatch, people can be very much in one camp. Like,
Oh
they
god,
take
yeah.
it seriously, they are committed to that camp. There is, no persuading them otherwise, and that's fine. I don't discourage that. Um, but me, I do my best to try to stay as open-minded as possible and look at
Hmm.
what I'm experiencing, because
Exactly.
I get to go into locations that a lot of people wouldn't go to,
Hmm.
and I get to experience it alone. That's another thing is,
Right.
when it comes down to it, the more people you get together to go squatching, or to go on these research missions, the
Hmm.
more opportunity for contamination happens.
Right.
um,
Right.
so I get to be pretty objective in what I'm experiencing,
Hmm.
which I like to do. It's pretty cool.
Right. And that being said, you know, PSA to everybody out there, make sure you always carry your emotional support pistol with you. So,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
pigs and lions are a thing.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I that's the I have I have more trouble out of boar than I do anything else.
I don't
Like,
doubt that.
yeah, the boar, especially in like Frozen Head,
Mm.
um, that that boar population is scary. Like, I've seen some crazy looking boar up there. So,
Wow.
and I've had my fair running, but I grew up with bears, with black bears. So, like,
Right.
I'm not necessarily like, bears don't bother me. I would much rather deal with a bear than a bunch of boar, because the boar will just straight up attack you for no reason. The
Right.
black bear generally, unless it's like close to hibernation, they're not really interested in you unless there's a cub around.
Mm,
Then that's when you run into problems. So that's
that
one
makes
thing
sense.
that drives me crazy, is that people come up to the Smokies, and they'll go through Cates Cove, and a little black bear cub comes out, and they're like, "Oh, he's so cute and cuddly," and they like try to get close and take a picture, and I'm like, "No, like, you
Yeah.
don't want to do that." Like, and they're like, "What? It's just a tiny black bear. He's not going to do anything." I'm like, "No, but the mom that is about 100 feet away will eat your face."
That's when you
So,
cue the music. Dumb ways to
I
die.
know, man. Yeah,
Yes.
I see a lot of that, and it's hard to watch.
Yeah.
It's hard to watch because at the end of the day, the Park Service wants, people have these, attacks or close encounters with these bear. A lot of them, they'll have to either relocate the bear, or if there's an attack, they have to go euthanize the bear,
Mm,
which, the bear was just being a bear, and
yeah.
it was human intervention that stepped in and ended that to the bear. And then they get dependent on human food, because people, it's weird, man. I don't understand it. Like, people are like, they see a wild animal and they like want to give it food, and I'm like, you're teaching that animal that you are food. Like,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Go to people, find food. That's bad
Y-
because sometimes you
exactly.
become the food.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So, and that's another thing that I'm gonna try. I'm going to start trying incorporating in my channel is just kind of PSAs that, you know, some people don't necessarily think about.
Right.
Because obviously in the Sasquatch community a couple months ago, people went out looking for Sasquatch and they passed away. They got lost. And
Yeah.
you know, I want to inspire people to get out and enjoy the mountains, you know, go have fun, go on a Sasquatch hunt, but there's ways to do it. And I think a lot of people see me do it, and I've heard a lot of people say that I make it look so easy that you know, they want to go do it. And
Right.
it's such a different environment that once you're out there, people get lost very easily. You know, and that's a scary part of it as well.
Right.
I've been trying to tell people, you know, just pee on the trail, you know, or you got to take a crap on the trail, because that's
Yeah.
where the majority of hikers, they they get lost that way,
Mhm.
you know, just by simply stepping off the trail. And it, because they get turned around, and it's a big mix up. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, you got to be careful out there. I mean, if you're not going to learn basic, compass skills, then yes, stay on the
Yeah.
trail. Do yourself
Yeah.
a favor, or have a guide.
Right. Exactly.
Have be what's the word I'm looking for? Prepared? No, I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for. But I don't know. Be a little
Think
smarter,
about what you're
better.
doing.
Plan things out. Just look at the
Yeah.
logistics a little bit. We're not just going out there with donuts and a baseball bat and a
Exactly.
walking stick. You need more. You need just
Exactly. Because once you get into this research, I swear it's like a drug, and everybody who gets into it, that's what they say to me too. You know, I want to go again. I want to go again. I want to go again. You know, and they're
yeah.
looking to experience something, and then once you experience something, it's just like, holy crap, I need that feeling again, because it's so amazing.
Oh
It's
yeah.
so amazing. You know, as many times as I've been out in the woods, like I've really only had like 3 encounters with a Bigfoot, I think.
Mm,
Um, and I'm out there a lot, you know.
mhm,
There's other things that happen, but like close encounter, like I find tracks, and you know,
mhm,
I'll find fur or some sort of evidence, but actually seeing a Bigfoot, you know, is a totally different experience. I was talking to another creator. She was on TikTok. Um, what is it? It's like Sasquatch Data or something. Um, she's kind of a small creator. She's getting
shout
started.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was talking about um, people's perception of Bigfoot, because a lot of people describe Bigfoot as being like a 10-foot tall, you know, monster in the woods.
Mm,
But when you see it, it's kind of easy for your brain to make it go from a 7-foot to a 10-foot creature, you know.
mm,
So
yeah.
it can be a lot of um, kind of confusion there, and a lot of the prints that I find, they tend to be more, in my opinion, juvenile.
Hmm.
Maybe I've found some big Sasquatch prints, but they're really rare. Um,
Hmm.
and of course, you have Dogman as well,
Right.
um, in this area, um, which um, that's a whole nother thing, man. Once you get in there, and dude, I found some massive prints. Do I have casting down here? Man, I'm sorry. I thought I had a casting down
Yeah.
here.
No
Um,
worries.
but it's a when you see a canine
Hmm.
print that is bigger than your hand, and you're,
Yep.
you know, in the mountains, you're like, this does not add up, you know,
Right.
because most canine prints are relatively small. Um,
Hmm.
Even, you know, with dogs, you know,
Right.
or the ones you find typically are coyotes, and those are generally pretty small prints. But
Hmm.
finding dogman prints will, you know,
Blow your
puts you
mind.
at another level. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Like
they get
it's
they
so
get
hard to wrap your head around it because it's like, wait, no, there's only so many kinds of dogs out here.
right.
What's
Yeah.
that?
Exactly. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And I've found in Frozen Head State Park, it's actually connected to Daniel Boone National
Mm,
Forest. A lot of people don't put that connection there, but it's a part of the same mountain chain. So
mhm.
there's a lot of really interesting things that happen up there
Right.
because one, also it's connected to the Native Americans. The Native Americans use that area. It's got a connection to um, the start really of the penitentiary system in the state of Tennessee when
Hmm.
Brushy Mountain State Prison was initially built. um, they put it in that location because it was considered the Siberia of America. They were so convinced that the terrain was so um, rough that even if somebody were to escape Brushy Mountain State Prison, they wouldn't be able to survive the terrain and what's out there.
Mm,
Now, if you talk to some of the locals that live in Petros, that
hmm.
go in, or a lot of them don't go into the mountains outside of like Windrock area,
Hmm.
where they go like four wheeling and dirt bike riding. There's that
Right.
side
Right.
of it, but then there's another side of it that they just refuse to go into.
Mm,
One, because of the boar, the
hmm.
coyotes. I have documented what is a coy wolf.
Right.
Which, do you know what a coy wolf is?
Oh yeah, I've seen one.
So, for those who don't know, a coy wolf is a breed between a gray wolf and a coyote. They are scary, man. Holy crap, they're scary.
I
And
mean, if you're used to seeing a coyote and you see one of those come out,
yeah,
oh
it's
yeah,
wild.
it's
Yeah,
gonna mess you up pretty hard.
it's
Yeah,
wild.
trust me.
And they talk of uh, a Black Panther, which I got
Mm,
on camera there too on trail cam. Um, that kills the farm animals. There used to be a lot of cows in the area, but now it's like a lot of them have, obviously goats and
mm,
pigs, domesticated pigs,
right.
and the area is really rich in like Native American folklore.
Hmm.
There is, and I haven't made it up. And I'll tell you what, last summer, um, and I went on Google Maps and I figured out the part of the mountain that I was on, because as I was going through 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 the trails, I look up and I see what kind of looks to be like almost like a wall. Like it
Hmm.
didn't make sense to the surrounding, but it's like the climb to get up to it is like vertical. I mean,
Right.
it's a haul. And I'm sitting there and I'm staring at it because another one of the locals and one of the prison guards that used to be at Brushy, they talked about this Native American sundial that is on the top of this mountain. And
Hmm.
I think I've located it. I'm going to go back this year, try to get to it. But when I was staring at this thing, there was this black figure that was in front of it, and it was moving back and forth, like it was staring down at me, like I was down below, and it
Yeah.
was looking up at me. I think I pulled it up I pulled up a live stream as it was happening,
Hmm.
and it didn't, with the live stream, it can be kind
Kind of
of broken
broken and
and kind of blurry, so it didn't come
oh
through
yeah.
very well. But dude, that was terrifying. And my friend John from Exploration Unknown,
Hmm.
he refuses to go into certain parts of Frozen Head because of how dangerous it is, because of the wildlife. And
Right.
um, he's an old country redneck as well. So for him to be
Nice.
like, no, you're crazy, I'm not going up there, it's pretty funny. So
Yeah, I know how that is.
yeah.
Trust me. Oh, yeah. So, well, that's interesting. Now, what do you make of that figure? Like, could you get a good description of it? Did it seem more humanoidal,
It
Black
was
Panther-y? I mean, what are we talking
it
here?
was definitely more humanoid.
Mm,
Okay, so yeah, it was definitely more humanoid in its movements, but it had a very kind of this distinctive color that
mhm,
I've seen on multiple occasions. A lot of people like to call it like the shadow people.
mm,
It gets kind of associated with that. I didn't have like a definitive answer of what exactly it was, what it was, because I also didn't find any type of prints or anything, um,
right.
because I was so far away from it. Um,
Okay.
but I mean, it was terrifying looking. It
Right.
was, and it was like this dark. I don't want to say it's black because it's not black, um,
Mhm,
but it's this shade of like nothingness that you see sometimes in this
mm.
locate in this work that is terrifying. Um,
So more of a shimmer, or is it blacker than black?
no, it's not blacker than black. Um,
Mhm.
it's almost it's really hard to describe because
That's
I
fair.
mean it's kind of black. I guess you could say it's blacker than black, but it's almost like the absence of something existing. Like so, it's kind of hard to describe because of
Yeah,
it.
no, I get it.
It
Okay.
becomes a weird dimensional kind of
Right.
um, shape. So,
And that
but
makes sense. I mean, because like for me now, on a one of my experiences with seeing an alien in my driveway, right?
yeah,
When I shined my flashlight up on it, granted, I had a floodlight, not a spotlight,
yeah,
but I could see everything lit up around it. But this thing, yeah, I've always described it as blacker than black, but
right,
it's not necessarily that because
yeah,
it's absorbing
yeah,
all the light, like it's almost like a black hole, but yet I can
yeah,
still see
yeah,
definition of its shape and stuff.
right,
So yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down for sure.
yeah, yep. And when it moves, it's like, dude, it's scary.
Yeah, yeah.
I've experienced that on a couple of investigations, like ghost hunting
Hmm.
trips. One was at Old Charleston Jail, um, and that happened again at Harriman Hospital.
Mm,
Um, and so it kind of, you know, when my perspective on the paranormal and all of this has dramatically changed
hmm.
since I initially started. I've always been into the paranormal. Like when I was a kid, uh, I remember, getting Mothman books,
Hmm.
that stuff. Like I just ate that stuff up. Um,
Right.
and when growing up and then with social media and the access to more information, we get to get a little bit more of an in-depth understanding of the paranormal, but
Right.
not really understanding it. But me going out and experiencing this, like my whole perspective on like ghosts and
Hmm.
time and everything has kind of changed. Sometimes I get a lot of hate for it because you have people that are in these camps that have their opinions and there's no changing about it, you
Right.
know. Um, but it's been a pretty awesome adventure. I've
Yeah.
gotten to go investigate for Mothman,
Hmm.
and in one of the domes. I recorded, in my opinion, and it didn't get much traction on my channel. I actually think I might re-release that video, but you know, when they made the movie and they talked about how he communicated
Hmm.
in the movie, like I captured kind of that sound,
Yeah,
and it
yeah,
was just very, and it was wild, man. So I got to experience that. Like I've gotten to experience like so much interesting things.
yeah,
So
yeah. Now, how do you often use, like, say, what do they call it, ghost box or anything like that? Word banks, anything?
um so when I was initially starting, I did. You
Hmm.
know, I kind of went down the whole YouTube ghost hunter trail, and
Right.
um so with using like the spirit box, and I don't really trust any of the apps.
Mm.
You know, I think a lot of it doesn't really give you much evidence. And a lot of my stuff, you know, I try to put my evidence out there in a way that people can interpret it on their own.
Right,
Using
right.
using those apps, it becomes very like defined, and I
Mm.
don't think that what we're doing can really be defined in our understanding of the universe yet.
Hmm.
Um, and when I had initially started out, I was using the spirit boxes. I never used a Ouija board.
Good.
But what I was finding was I was having similar reactions
Hmm.
with the spirit box than you would with a Ouija board. And it's not necessarily, a lot of people talk about how the Ouija board will like open up a portal in your home. It's not necessarily the Ouija board itself. And this is all stuff that I'm learning as
Hmm.
I go. But like when you put yourself in those situations and when you're with the spirit box, you're putting yourself in a position to where something like that can kind of take hold.
Right.
Whether or not what's coming through is relevant doesn't
Hmm.
really matter.
Right.
It's your personal interaction with it.
Right.
And I had been over at this time. I had been at this house
Hmm.
that used to be at one point it was a candy factory. Um,
Hmm.
Back in the day in East Tennessee.
Hmm.
Like so there was some negative things that happened on that plantation. And during that time, I had thought that I'd made connection with what I thought was like a little boy, and
Hmm.
I was getting, you know, um, the EMF. Um, sorry, I've been sick. Also,
Oh, no, you're good.
the EMF detector. You know, I was getting good responses from that. I had created this kind of um, Lego interaction thing. And the whole time I thought I was just interacting with a lost boy. Well,
Right.
that was not what it was, because this thing followed me. And um,
Yep.
one night I was laying in bed and I thought that I was having a dream. And
Hmm.
I look over and I see what I think is a boy. Um, it's kind of weird because like I remember seeing this thing and it was like I was looking at a boy, but I knew it wasn't a boy, and its mouth was moving,
Yep.
and I couldn't understand what it was saying.
Hmm.
So I leaned over and like kind of looked in at it and was trying to get it to try to understand what it was saying, and it took its finger and it stuck it in my chest.
Mm.
That burned a
Yeah.
fingerprint in my chest. And that
Yep.
whole time, like, I was kind of like, I thought it was a female, but I thought it was a boy. Like, and it was just really confusing what I thought was a dream.
Hmm.
I wake up the next morning. I go get in the, go into the bathroom, have my shirt off, and I'm looking at myself, and there's a finger tip burned into my chest. And I
Yep.
was just like, at that point, it was like all the dominoes fell. Like you see those scenes in the movie when they realize what's happening and everything just kind of
Yep.
falls down. And it was just kind of, after that experience, I was just like, holy crap, like what is happening here? Because I didn't really have a good understanding. I didn't really have a very defined opinion about what happens when we die. I didn't really have a defined opinion of
Mhm.
what we were dealing with. I was just blindly opening myself up to a just terrible, terrible situation. And then I
Yes.
started having like these just real vivid, terrible nightmares.
Mhm.
Um, and it took so long for me to figure out how to rid myself of this stuff.
Right.
And so that's another reason why you don't see a lot of the ghost hunting stuff on my
Mhm.
channel anymore, because that kind of, if you like take it seriously
Mhm.
and you really put your heart into it, into the research, and you try to be very scientific and very direct with it, it really just opens you up to a world that we cannot even remotely understand.
Right.
Like it's totally different. Like,
Right.
and a lot of people have, obviously with religion, a lot of people have their opinions, and their beliefs, and in my opinion on like ghost hunting and all that stuff has kind of changed as well.
Right.
And it's been a very interesting journey.
Right. Yeah, I agree, man. Like, I mean, for me, like, I come at this all at a Christian angle. I mean, that's
Right.
who I am. That's what I do.
Yep.
And I didn't start off that way with the way that I saw this stuff. It had to be, hmm, it had to be shown to me that that was the case. And
Right.
that's when things clicked for me.
Yep.
But now, what you're saying about like the Ouija board and the communication, I think what you're trying to say is basically, in order for that stuff to work properly,
Hmm.
you pretty much have to come into an agreement
Yeah.
with whatever that said entity is.
Yeah.
And that's why people have all these horror stories. I played with the Ouija board and it
Yeah.
ate my dog, or some whatever.
Yeah.
Like, and if I had to make a wager, now here's a question. Where that thing touched you, if you
Hmm.
actually think about it, can you still feel where it touched you?
Oh, 100%.
Yep. I had the same thing on my back, so I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a fun time, and
No.
it doesn't matter the methods that you employ. I would just say people will be cautious. I'm not gonna tell anybody what to do. I would say, theoretically, most of the time, well, 100% of the time, Ouija board equals bad. Bad, hot, no, don't do that.
Right.
If you want to go play with Ghost Box, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that that's the worst thing in the world, but I
Right.
don't know. But you got to understand that no matter what, you're coming into some kind of an agreement, some kind of an accord, and you're giving it the right to interact with you.
Right.
And who you are and what you do is going to determine that said interaction.
Yeah.
You know, like
Absolutely.
for me, it was CE5. I did CE5, had my experience, and then it's been all downhill from there up until I got my life right back with God.
Yeah.
Then things changed again, and now it's not the same. Like when people ask me, like, "Hey, you want to come out with us and do some ghosts?" I'm like, "I can, but you need to understand that if I'm coming out there with you, I'm bringing sword and flame. I'm not coming out there to play nice
Right.
with no disembodied spirits."
Right.
Because
Yeah.
I'm not a
Absolutely.
ghost. So
And it's wild, and what's even what made that whole situation even scarier to me was that it happened in my own bed
Yeah.
after the investigation, after I'd
Mm.
left, you know, and it was just like, and it totally changed my perspective. Like, and that's another thing, is that when you have these eye-opening experiences, like your whole perspective on things just completely change, you know.
Yep. It's
um
impossible for it not to.
yeah, yeah, and you don't exactly know how to explain it either, so
Mhm.
it's kind of like one of those things, man. And it really kind of started me, and that's kind of like one of my theories that I have been working on lately, is like our understanding and our perception of time.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be something that's going to be coming out in the future, with these disclosure projects,
Right.
like CE5 and these other things, and as the government kind of starts moving forward with
Hmm.
not necessarily admitting anything. I don't think that the government will ever take an open stance on it. Um, but I think that the government coming up is going to put that information out there for you to interpret.
Mm.
And so I think when it initially happens, I think there's going to be a lot of misinformation.
Mm.
Um, and when, like in New Jersey, when those drones were happening,
Right.
I saw a lot of creators just jumping on the bandwagon and like
Mm.
freaking out and creating this mass hysteria, when in reality, I think what actually happened was we had, on a more public level, the exposure of like these orbs,
Hmm.
and kind of like our first really, hey, we're here kind of experience. And
Sure.
that's what in the government at that point, and she even said it in a recent press, conference, where she was talking about, she says that the drones were sent up for research purposes. Like,
Right.
you send up a car-sized drone to over major city, one of the most populated areas in the
Hmm.
United, like, what? Like, no. Like,
Right.
that's
Right.
so dangerous. Like you just don't put flying cars in the air, just to see how they fly. Like,
Right.
they were researching something that could have been a national security risk, and
Right.
in reality, like, our technology, our ability to defend ourselves against this technology that we're going to be seeing just
Hmm.
isn't there. It's not happening. Like, if these
Right.
aliens decide that they want Earth, then they're just going to take it. It's not really even going to be like a defense,
Mm.
it's but anyway, back to my point is, with the time, um our understanding and perspective of time, I think that and I've experienced this in kind of different locations, and it's really weird.
Mhm.
But how these objects are moving, I think they are manipulating gravity, but while manipulating gravity, they are manipulating time. So yes,
Mm.
they are floating, but at the same time, as we're seeing it, it looks like they're making these huge jumps, but they're actually just kind of moving through time, and because
Mhm.
they have that ability. um I don't think that these aliens, or whatever you want to call them, I don't think that they're not getting in a ship and traveling through space. I think that, it's coming through on a dimensional plane.
Right. I agree.
It- and I think that that could be a major reason why the government really has kind of stayed away from it, because it will have a major effect on people's religious beliefs. And when you start introducing things like that, and you're
Mhm.
talking about religion, like it's going, people are just gonna lose their mind. I mean,
Yeah.
they
I
just can't
mean,
handle it.
if you haven't studied to show yourself approved so that you can actually say all the
Right,
stuff and be like, "Oh, actually, you know what? There is a biblical angle that explains it all." And then it's like, "Oh,
right,
okay." But
yeah,
yeah, granted, the normal people, nah, nah, sheep ain't gonna do that.
no,
So yeah, so so that's a great point, man. Great point.
yeah.
All right. So now I want to circle back to something that you talked about a little bit earlier. Have you actually put eyes on a dog man?
Say it again.
Have you put eyes, like your eyes, on a dog man? Have you actually seen one?
I've seen something. Um, I like in the area where I found prints.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't get a good look at it.
Mm.
Um, so as much as I would like to say that, yes, I not only saw Dogman, but I also found these footprints with Dogman. I don't really get to say that. There's a lot of people that when I went to Daniel Boone,
Mm-hmm.
I went in this cave, and a lot of
Mm.
people pointed out that there was something in the cave that I was in, but I didn't see it. Um, it was kind of interesting because now, like looking back at it in this cave that I found, I initially kind of thought it was a bear,
Mm-hmm.
because there were oils and markings on the wall on both sides of the walls, right?
Mm.
And during the time, like when I was there, I was like, oh, this is a bear. But then, like, once I kind of left that area, I was like, wait a minute, there's something bigger in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I went back and I looked again, and you could tell that it looked as though kind of something had been moving, not just on one side of the cave, but evenly across the walls of this cave. And
Mm.
it wasn't at the height of a bear. So
Right.
bears, as they're walking, they're going to be, black bears at least are going to be
Mm-hmm.
relatively low to the ground. We're talking about markings on the wall that were like close to my shoulder level. And
Mm.
for a creature to be like that, to be that big, it would
Mm-hmm.
be, you know, not a bear. And a lot of
Right.
people said that I captured something on video, but for me, I want it to be like indisputable. You know,
Right.
that's a big ask in the paranormal world. you
Oh
know,
yeah.
but
Especially after we talked about the electromagnetism messing up the picture anyway.
oh god, the camera
Yeah.
problems, and they're just never ending. So I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if I'll ever actually get to do that, but I'm definitely working on it. I try to follow up as many leads as I can,
Yeah.
especially with
Yeah.
the dog man. You get to see it, what I notice with the dog man and with Sasquatch and with the feral people. Um, the environments are, depending on the cryptid, are very defined for each
Mm-hmm.
cryptid.
Mm.
And it's kind of an interesting thing that a lot of people don't think about. They're like, there's a Bigfoot or there's a Dogman in the mountains here. But when you get to the area where there's pine trees, and there's a bunch of cedar trees, or the areas, they all kind of look very similar depending on who had the encounter with what.
Mm.
Does that make
Right.
sense? So that's one part of it that's really cool,
Yeah. Yeah.
of getting out there and getting to do this research. But no, I can't say that I've had a direct line of sight on a dog man.
Mm. Yeah. That one's a little difficult to wrap your brain around. Like I've seen Bigfoot Well, I've had 3 interactions, but no, 4 interactions, but I've only got to put my eyes on it once. And
Yeah.
and that one's an easy one for me to wrap my head around, but I can attest to the fact that when you see an actual Dogman, and it's one of those things where your brain just cannot wrap around it without hurting itself almost, like it's
Right.
very disconcerting, but
Oh yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. But when you're in
yeah.
the areas of Dogman, you can really, and that's another thing that's kind of funny, is there's a difference in the air. Like you can
Mhm.
feel it, like that you have become like prey. And
Yeah.
I think Bigfoot puts and people, I don't know, people criticize me for it, but I think that there's a different feeling um, of being watched between like about a Bigfoot and a Dogman.
Oh,
So
sure. Yeah.
it's kind of
I
funny.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree 100%.
Yeah.
Um, so with that being said, let's pull out a little bit of juicy stuff here. So, of the things that you've actually seen,
Hmm.
what are the things that really strike you like, oh my god, life changing? Like, what are those critters for you?
Um, ones that I would want to see,
No. Like the
ones that I've seen.
what you've seen so far. Like, what has really impacted you?
Um, well, one, the, and I think it was a demonic entity,
Hmm.
um, that I had seen in Harriman Hospital.
Mm.
Um, that was, that's really kind of disturbing on like a different level that
Mm.
um really makes you question how you're living your life. Like it's not just like, oh my gosh, I saw Bigfoot, but like when you
Right.
see something like that, and it's and it and it's not that it's scary either.
Right.
That's another weird thing that happens, is that like with dealing with the seeing like what I believe to be a demonic entity.
Hmm.
um it wasn't scary, um but it was very disturbing,
Yeah.
because I was hit with this reality that I'm 20 feet away from this thing, and I'm staring at it,
Mm.
and it's hard to not look away, but at the same time you kind of make yourself look away, and then it's like not there, and then you're like, whoa, that's like
How is that part even possible?
yeah, yeah.
Right.
So that really will twist your head.
Mm.
um my encounter with what I believe to be a feral person,
Hmm.
in the Smokies, when I got yelled at, I mean, that was scary.
Hmm.
That part of it was scary because I was afraid. Um, I got a lot of a lot of comments on the fact that I put my helmet on to get on my bike, and I wasn't thinking about it at the time, but I was putting my helmet on because I thought I was about to be in a fight, you know,
Heck yeah.
and yeah, I wasn't about to like, I had yeah, it's a bicycle helmet, but
Armor is armor.
it is what it is.
Right.
So there was that experience, and then the Bigfoot was awesome, because it was like, holy shit, this thing's actually real. you
Right.
know
Right.
and I caught my and I caught my reaction, like my first like real sighting of a Bigfoot. I caught my reaction. I didn't have the camera, of course, not at the Bigfoot, But I looked at the camera and I said, "Oh my god, I think I'm about to get eaten by a Bigfoot," because I was seeing this thing and it was just like such a overwhelming surprise that that hits you. You're like, he's there. like
Yeah.
and it kind of in a sense, then at that point it kind of, to me, gave a lot of credence to why it's so difficult to get one on film, is because it's such a surprising event that while you're looking at this thing, you don't want to take your eyes off of it, so you don't
Right.
care about filming. You don't care about anything else. You're just like, there's this thing. So that was an awesome experience. And then what happened in the domes when looking for Mothman, that experience kind of, and that was kind of a little bit early on in my public research career. So that experience, that was kind of disturbing, because then at that point, when I realized, like I'd seen the movie, but I didn't watch the Mothman movie when I was driving to go search for Mothman. So it
Right.
was like I knew what had happened, like in that movie, and then it was just kind of like, holy shit, like I just experienced a little bit of this. A lot of these people had these pretty major experiences with this being,
Right.
which is awesome. So
Yeah.
that was a unique feeling as well. I don't even really know how to describe that, because I heard it when it happened. Um, I think I said something to Josh about it. And then I got to go back and replay my footage and listen to it. So that was awesome. And it kind of makes you look at these cryptids a little bit differently as well.
Yeah.
Because you get to develop your own interpretation of what's really happening. So, it's a constant fuel for knowledge at that point. So whether it be
Definitely.
scary or it's always a great new feeling.
Definitely. 100%, man. Well, brother, that's awesome, and thank you for sharing that with us. Now I have
Absolutely.
one small final question, and then I'm
All
gonna
right,
get out your hair.
cool.
All right. Perchance, do you know what your blood type is?
Yes, a
What
positive.
is A positive?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, there you go, folks. Y'all getting mad at me if I didn't ask that.
You ask everybody what their blood type is.
Of late, everybody wants to
Well, it's
know.
kind of shocking that the majority of the population doesn't know what their blood type
I know,
and
that's kind of weird.
it's a pretty important detail.
Yeah. I mean, we're all out here reproducing. You
Yeah,
probably
exactly.
better figure that out.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Well, man, that was awesome. And you know what? I can't thank you enough for coming on. Like, seriously,
absolutely,
I really
absolutely.
appreciate it. Now, before we get out of here, plug your stuff one more time.
Right on. So you can follow me mainly on YouTube at Black Mass Paranormal. You can find me on Instagram as Black Mass Paranormal and TikTok as Black Mass Paranormal as well. I do a variety of different things depending on the content that you like to do or that you like to feed yourself. Don't know what the word I was looking for there was, but typically on my TikTok, I will do some pretty interesting shorts on different types of cryptids, or you might get to experience a hiking tip or something funny that happens along the way. But on my YouTube channel, where you're going to find the majority of my content, we're going to be going to the most interesting places in Appalachia and see what happens. So come check me out.
Awesome. For sure. And like I said, everybody out there, he's worth your time. Brian is a cool dude, and I'm telling you what, you'll definitely be entertained if nothing else, because it's great content that he puts out there. So with that being said, man, I'm going to cut this thing off and we'll get out of here. All right, sound good?
Right on. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Alrighty. Well, guys, that was the show. I hope that you guys enjoyed it as much as I did, because it's awesome to meet your heroes and the people that you really like. It's such a pleasure. It really was. Brian's good people. Love him to death. So with that being said, guys, I'm gonna get out of here too. So yeah, let me figure out where that's at, and there it is. So y'all know the drill. I love you. Be good, and what's the thing we say? Oh yeah, tookie tookie. Peace.
How it's supposed to feel.